Michael. And on the beach, Philippa.
I'm just having my first real glimmer of excitement because there's a distinct change now in the light, and people are taking photos of each other and of us. Their flashes are going off. There's a real change now, isn't there, Helen?
Definitely, definitely. It does seem to be much darker. It also feels much colder, doesn't it? I'm not sure if that's just because of the rain, but it does feel much colder. I've been rubbing the crystal ball. It's still, I'm afraid, I think that's out the window today. Got my rain hat ready instead. But what I have been doing is looking or monitoring the weather right the way from 9 o'clock this morning, and I've been monitoring the temperature. You can see here, if we look at the red one, that's when we had that heavy shower and it dropped the temperature anyway. But you can now begin to see the temperature is gradually dropping away ever so slightly, only probably at the moment by about ½ degree or so. But I think as we carry on towards totality, I think it will drop maybe by 1 degree or 2. So that'll be interesting to see. Also looking at the wind. You know, I said we were looking for a gust in the wind.
Yeah.
Well, there have been peaks all along, obviously, as we've got the rain coming in. But maybe that was a little peak there. Maybe that was a peak due to the eclipse. And now the wind is beginning to die down a little bit. So that may be something to do with it. Pressure, well, we've got low pressure out to the west.
That's our problem.
It is our problem, and so I think today this really experiment is not going to work because the pressure just keeps on falling due to the low pressure coming in from the west, so it's being swamped by the normal local weather. And lastly, the radiation. Do you believe we're getting any sunlight through at the moment, Philippa? I know it seems unlikely, but we are still getting energy from the sun. But the interesting thing here, this is where it was originally. Obviously, we've had clouds coming across, but the energy is actually beginning to die down almost to zero now. So certainly as we go towards totality, as the moon goes right in front of the sun, then we will get down to zero and have no energy whatsoever. So there you go.
You know, the thing I find most ironic about this whole event is that this was meant to be the eclipse that was watched by the most people ever in Britain because of television and everything. And the whole thing seemed destined to be hidden from us all. Don't you think that's ironic, Michael?
You've got a very nice sense of irony, Philippa. We can now go to the Isles of Scilly, which of course are the westernmost part of the United Kingdom, and that's the picture there. John, look.
Yes, we've got about 5 minutes to go in the Isles of Scilly before totality
6:12
comes.
here, but 5 minutes there, yeah?
Yes, yes, a bit further west, so they get the shadow before us. Oh, that's really looking good. That's really looking good.
5 minutes to go. It's a good shot from the Isles of Scilly, eh?
Yes, yes, if that cloud stays like that, then I think they should see quite an interesting corona through that cloud. I don't think that will worry them too much.
John has actually brought his lucky hat in here with a Blue Peter badge on it, so that's obviously why we can get pictures from the Isles of Scilly.
Very special hats, worked every time.
Anyway, enough of that. Look outside.
Oh,
actually, on this television picture inside here, it doesn't show it quite so well, but out there, when you go outside to look at the castle on Mount St Michael, you can see how dark it is and how the clouds have gathered. But the crowds are there, looking out over there, taking the odd snapshot.
And there are some breaks in the cloud to the south. If they will hurry up, then Patrick might get one of those gaps in Falmouth as they drift across.
Okay. I think the street lights are coming on here in Penzance. They're automatic, I imagine, John, aren't they?
Yes.
You can see them there, look.
Yes, yes. Some come on by timers, but a lot these days come on automatically as their sensors are triggered as they get towards dusk. And people at home have got to watch out now because their neighbour's security light may very well come on their garage, triggered by the folk across the road's cat or whatever.
And this is our best picture, John, isn't it? This is the picture from the Hercules.
Yes, oh,
I'm imagining
that's really
that it's
looking
right
fine.
over us. 4 minutes, just over 4 minutes, isn't it, to go to totality?
4 minutes here, and they're a little bit further west from us,
They're
so
a
they
little
will
west.
get it a bit
So
earlier.
a bit ahead of us, in fact.
Bit ahead of us.
And this, I think, is Alderney, and Jamie Theakston's under that one in Alderney. Jamie, you there?
Yes, Michael, we're here in Alderney. As you can see, we've got a great view here. There's a little bit of light cloud just blowing over us here. It's actually become remarkably cold. I'm joined, of course, by Dr. Chris Riley, BBC astronomer. Chris, it's getting quite eerie now here.
It is really eerie, Jamie. We've both got our coats on. There's a chill descended in the air. There's only a few % of the sun left, and it's just tantalisingly visible through a gap in the clouds right above our heads here. But the wind, I swear, has changed direction. I know Patrick doesn't believe this, but I think it has.
We've got, there's a gannet colony, of course, not far away from here. There were a lot of birds around earlier. They seem to have cleared. Is that a sense that it's getting darker?
Certainly, there seems to be a kind of hush that's descending over nature here as well. Although the wind has got up, everything else is pretty silent, really. So it's getting kind of spooky.
And the cloud cover, I mean, it's extraordinary now. I don't think I've ever seen clouds like this before. I mean, it's broken cloud, but it seems to be illuminated around the edges.
It's a real kind of mackerel sky, I think it's called, where you've got these kind of patches around the clouds that are illuminated, as you say, and as the temperature drops further, these clouds should shrink both in height and in width, so it might just clear up, and that gap that we can see the eclipse through now might just stay with us over totality.
Right, well, let's keep our fingers crossed. I know they've got 2 minutes 47 now until totality in Cornwall. Does that mean how long until we get totality here?
About 7 minutes 40 for us here, so we'll be about 5 minutes behind totality in Penzance with Michael.
Right, a real sense of excitement building here, Michael, but let's hand back to Cornwall.
Oh, 2 minutes 24, John, now to totality. It's really dark outside. And this is the Isles of Scilly. Now, if we've got 2 minutes and 17 seconds, they've only got just over a minute, haven't they, until totality?
They've got just over a minute, about a minute and 10 seconds from now. And we can see the crescent has thinned now. It's very, very thin. We can see the horns here are now beginning to draw in. And this is when your hands sweat. The hairs on the back of your neck really get tense. Here are the horns drawing in now, and then we're going to see this fade all the way down to a single point of light. I don't think we're going to get a very spectacular show of Bailey's beads as we go into totality.
We'll come back to that in a minute, John, but just here, look how dark it's got outside here.
Isn't it
at Marizaya?
Absolutely wonderful. Wonderful.
It turns you on, does it, John?
It really does. Oh, we just lost the picture there, but if we can get that back, then we'll see a plunge into totality in the Scillies in about 30 seconds.
Oh, right.
If we can get that back.
Can we still see the Scilly Islands? Because we've got about 30 seconds to totality,
We've got about 15 seconds now.
15 seconds?
And so we've got 10 seconds to go. Here we are, single point of light, breaks into a couple of beads, disappears. Now they'll be able to see the corona. If they can't see it through the clouds, we're coming up here. Now
here's the Hercules, John, so...
Okay.
And they're about where we are, so what are we doing? We're about a minute away?
We've got a bit less than a minute, I think, to go. They're a bit to the west of us, and again we can see things thinning and the horns drawing in.
Great shouting going on outside here, and at the Radio 1 outing there.
Absolutely. Hope nobody gets dazzled by all the flashes that go off. Tremendous